Because if you keep comparing yourself, you'll never be happy, right? You'll destroy your own happiness very quickly. You'll always feel inadequate. You'll always feel that you're not good enough. สวัสดีครับ I'm Point from ค้นพบ 2 weeks ago, I did a video on developing your self-esteem. Now I want to revisit some of the concepts there because I think it'll be also helpful to add on to that and talk about why we compare ourselves to other people and how to stop doing that. Because I'm sure you'll find very quickly and you'll agree that when you begin to compare yourself to other people, you will begin to destroy your happiness very quickly. Now, today as well, I released a video in my coaching page, Thrive with Point, which talks about how insecurity may sometimes be developed or learned in childhood. And I gave the example of how one of the driving factors or causes could be a parent which likes to compare their child to somebody else, to another kid, to a sibling, to the kid's friend, etc. And how that can lead to the development of an insecurity and how that eats away at self-esteem, how that negatively affects self-confidence. So first of all, why do we compare ourselves to others? Now, it's very natural for the human psyche to do that. But we can take a number of perspectives because if you want to talk about the reasons why, there are so many reasons. If you take for example, the perspective of society, it can be argued that we compare ourselves to other people because we live in a outwardly oriented society. That means that we live in a society where most people value material success, material possessions. And people by their very nature, or society by nature, likes to make surface level judgments, right? Superficial judgments based on somebody's results. So that very quickly gets somebody in the mode of thinking that their self-worth, how valuable they are, how worthy they are, is dependent upon the level of success they have achieved in the material world, right? That includes how much money they have, their financial stability, financial success, what career they have, what job they have, how prestigious of a title do they hold in that career, in that job, right? Do they have social economic status? Do they have social status, right? Do they have a loving family? Do they have a beautiful wife, a handsome husband, a beautiful girlfriend, a handsome boyfriend? The list goes on. By its very nature, it is very easy to get trapped in that cycle because wherever you go, we're always bombarded constantly by messages that seem to suggest that our self-worth is dependent on some material milestone of achievement, if you get what I mean. So that's one perspective. Another perspective we could take from the perspective of a person's self-esteem. Somebody who has not yet learned to develop a genuine, high, internal self-esteem that comes from within, that I talked about 2 weeks ago in my video, right? Somebody who has not yet learned to develop that self-esteem, genuine, high, internal self-esteem that comes from within, they will naturally find their self-worth or look outwards to find their self-worth in external things, in outside sources. So it's very easy for that person to then walk down the line of logic to think that their self-worth is dependent upon or is in relation with what they have acquired. Again, this leads very quickly to the notion that you're comparing yourself to other people. For example, I'm this age by now. I should have a family by now. I should have a successful career by now. I should have financial stability by now. I'm this age. I should have my life together by now. My friends already have children. My friends are already married. Why aren't I in a relationship? Always comparing yourself to other people and using that as a representation or a benchmark to measure your self-worth again. You can begin to see how this is very problematic, right? That's another explanation potentially why we compare ourselves to others. And the next one, the third one, I like very much. And this takes the perspective of the ego, how the psyche of your ego mind works, right? And I borrow again this concept from Eckhart Tolle, one of the teachers and gurus that I very much look up to and admire his teachings. Eckhart Tolle explains very well that the nature of the ego mind, is such that it is always searching for something to feel complete, to feel happy. It always wants more. But yet, once you acquire that, even though you may be happy, but that happiness will be very short-lived because the ego is essentially something that can never be fulfilled. It is like a void that can never be fulfilled. The more you have, the more you'll want. And you keep chasing your own tail. It's like you have a carrot in front of a stick dangling there in front of you, and you're always running after it. That's another way to look at it. So I like this perspective because it explains the mechanism of how the ego works, how your self-concept works, how the ego always wants to expand and grow bigger and want more and more and more and more. It's always finding happiness from outside, not from within, right? Or if you use the psychological perspective, you can similarly explain that that's called hedonic adaptation. That pretty much means that when you acquire something like a financial milestone, material success, or a success in your career path, a promotion in your job, then that happiness will be short-lived because you grow used to it, you adapt to it. It becomes normalized for you to have that level of wealth, to have that level of success, that career, title, etc. Then you begin to want more and you feel unhappy again. That's hedonic adaptation in a nutshell. But whatever perspective you take, or even if you want to take a combination of these perspectives, it still goes back to the point that, see, we're always comparing ourselves to other people. So the next question is, which I want to share in today's video as food for thought, is how do you begin to stop comparing yourself to other people? Because if you keep comparing yourself, you'll never be happy, right? You'll destroy your own happiness very quickly. You'll always feel inadequate. You'll always feel that you're not good enough, that you're not good enough somehow, that you're not worthy somehow. So I want to share 3 simple steps that I think is a good combination between mindfulness practice and psychological self-esteem development practice. So number 1, ask yourself, what am I thinking now? If you find yourself sad or feeling inadequate or feeling somehow not good enough or feeling somehow upset or some sort of negative emotion because you've been comparing yourself to other people, sit down, take a deep breath, relax, and just watch what your mind is doing. Ask yourself, what am I thinking now? If it's not yet clear to you, perhaps do a small meditation style observation. Close your eyes and focus your attention on your stomach, on the rising and falling of your stomach. As you breathe in with each inhale, try to focus your attention on the rising of your stomach and note to yourself in your mind, rising. When you exhale and the stomach contracts, note to yourself in your mind and focus your attention on your stomach, the sensation of the stomach falling or collapsing due to the inhale. Very quickly, you'll find that your mind drifts off to that chain of thinking, to that mental narrative, to those judgments that are leading you to feel sad or feel unworthy because it is based on judgments and comparison of your self-worth to somebody else, to other people. So notice the thinking that leads you to feel that way. Notice the links between those thoughts or that perspective that your mind has identified with momentarily. And notice the emotions that it produces. Try to see the links. See? Try to see how your mind tries to get you to believe in the story that it comes up with, that gets you to think that you're not good enough because you're comparing yourself to other people. Or in a sense that you compare yourself to somebody else and you feel superior to them, notice the ego at play here. Notice perhaps the feelings of arrogance or superiority, which is also ego. So notice that. Notice how your ego mind is taking pleasure in feeling good about yourself in relation to looking down on somebody else. So if that's the case, notice that too. Step number two, ask yourself, Is the thought that I'm having now, is it helpful? Is this thought helpful? Is it helpful for what point? Is it helpful for the development of strong, genuine internal self-esteem? Is it helpful for genuinely developing true self-confidence, a sense of self-worth? So ask yourself in step number 2, is this thought helpful? Then go to step 3. If this thought is helpful, then continue to process it in a helpful, genuine way, right? In a way that genuinely serves to get you to see your skill sets and capabilities more, right? To build a strong, genuine self-esteem, right? But in the case where you realize that this thought is not helpful to making you feel worthy, or making you feel that you're good enough, or making you feel that you are lovable, right? Then ask yourself, how can I challenge and change this unhelpful thought? So again, step number 3, if the thought that you are having right now is not helpful, it's not kind to yourself, it's not compassionate to yourself, ask yourself, how can I challenge and change it into something more positive, right? And if you feel stuck at this stage because perhaps you feel too emotional, perhaps you feel too negative because the thoughts have produced such a strong negative emotion that you feel stuck, that you feel that you're stuck in this current of thoughts and feelings and emotions, then take a step back, relax again, and go back to step 1 and do a small meditation. Bring your mind and your attention back to the present moment of what is. Notice how your thoughts are nothing but the imagination of your mind. It is nothing but concepts that your mind has imagined and that you believe to be real. And that because you believe to be real, you identify with it and you produce your own suffering. So therefore, in that sense, go back to step 1 and combine this with mindfulness practice that I also talked about last week, and recognize the nature of those thoughts, how they are just illusions, right? Those thoughts that make you feel a sense of lack, a sense that you're not good enough, a sense of not being worthy, that they're nothing but concepts and illusions that your mind has come up with momentarily. And begin the process again, right? And sooner or later, you will recognize that due to the law of impermanence, nothing can last forever. No negative emotion can last forever. It might last for a while, but you'll notice if you pay attention closely to what is going on in your mind and in your feelings and in your emotions, you will still be able to notice that the degree and the intensity of the emotions and thoughts and feelings changes with each and every moment. And hopefully, this helps you to develop the perspective and understanding that things, emotions and experiences rise, they come, they stay for a while, and then they cease to exist. You see the impermanence of it. And seeing the impermanence of it helps you to see through the illusion of it. And once you see through the illusion of it, you begin to develop coping skills, as we talked about last time. You begin to develop a perspective that it's okay, I can get through this. And your strength of mind becomes stronger. You're becoming more mindful. Your awareness is growing because you're able to tolerate the temporary feeling of discomfort or negative emotions with the perspective and understanding that they will go away and that you can challenge and change them. All right, so I want to share this briefly in today's video. I hope this was valuable for you. Keep up with the practice, and I invite you to practice and learn together with me. And don't be disheartened, right? Because practice makes perfect. It's a long learning journey. So I want to share one last bit before I end, that even for me, sometimes when I'm having a tired day, a bad day, or negative thoughts come up or negative emotions come up, they might stay for a while. But as you practice this more, you begin to develop a bigger perspective and you react to those negative emotions less. And once you react to them less, you begin to gradually train your mind to be centered in what is in the present moment, here and now, because you know that it's going to be okay and that you can keep learning and that you become focused on effort and on what learning means to you, right? Hope this was valuable for you. Once again, don't forget, I have Facebook page and our YouTube channel, on my coaching page, Thrive with Point. The information should be up on the screen now. So be sure to check me out on those social media platforms as well. If you like this video or you found it was valuable, please do give me a like and share the video and subscribe to my channel. I will see you next time. Thank you very much. สวัสดีครับ